Hi everyone and welcome to another developer live stream. My name is Bence or BD Boy and I will be your host today. We have a lot to talk about, including the Road to Hell event as well as update 2.8, and we will have a bunch of guests on stream as well to talk about all these awesome things. Let's just quickly go through the list of topics we are going to be covering today. First of all, we will have the Fair Play Task Force on stream. This will be their first appearance on our live stream, but we have posted a video today actually as well as a blog post, so please make sure to check that out. But of course we are going to be covering a lot of those topics on this stream as well. And as always, if you have some questions, please do leave it in the chat. We will have a Q&A segment at the end, or just comment on our videos post and we will try to answer them in the future as well. After that, we will have a segment with Port Sulphur Band with Nikki, who is our lead narrative designer, and we will also talk about, of course, the lore around the Road to Hell event, as well as the DLC that is releasing alongside it. Then, of course, we have to cover everything about this awesome event, so we are going to be talking about the points of interest that are coming, like the Stronghold that you may have seen, all the other map changes, new weapons coming, and a lot more to cover today. After that, as you may have also seen in our latest blog about the inventory slot system rework, this is a huge topic, so we will have some guests covering it today and going into the nitty-gritty and trying to answer your questions as well. And as I said, there will be a Q&A at the end, so please try to leave some questions for us so we can try to answer those as well. And of course, it's a very big update, so we have a bunch of other gameplay changes, gunplay changes, balance changes, and some other topics to talk about as well. So please stay tuned and sit around because we have a lot to cover today. But without any further ado, let's kick off our community update segment with the Fair Play Task Force update. And we have some guests on here today. Hi, guys.
Hey, Bence.
Hi.
I'm Steven. I'm the product director on Hunt Showdown.
And I'm Thomas. I'm a senior programmer on the Fair Play Task Force.
Exactly. So this is the first appearance of the Fair Play Task Force team. Do you guys want to talk about what we are going to do and how we go forward in the future with this?
Yeah, so we're looking to make this more of a regular update on an ongoing basis and come here, talk about some of the topics that are not just on the roadmap and what we're working on, but also what's currently happening right now in the community and what the Fair Play Task Force is working on. With that and that sort of roadmap piece as a whole, we won't always be able to share all the major announcements and major details that are being worked on there, but we do want to make sure we give you more of an ongoing update of what's happening, make sure that we're doing a better job of keeping you in the loop on an ongoing basis on these different initiatives and how they're progressing. Part of that is about being more transparent, but also we know that we can just continue to improve that quality of communication as a whole. And you guys are already doing a great job of reporting a lot of these issues to us, be that through social and the in-game tools. So we just want to make sure that feedback loop is really close back to you as well.
And let's start off with a little update for the past months from March to May and what happened in the game.
Yeah, so you may have already seen these numbers in this morning's video, but we've banned 3,515 cheaters since our last update. And we've also had 428 mouse and keyboard bans on console via the AnyBrain integration, which is really exciting to see, as well as another 269 additional bans for in-game violations. One thing to, again, caveat here, if you haven't seen the video already, just the size of the numbers doesn't necessarily reflect the impact of what's going on. Sometimes we have like really high numbers when there's just a large number of people using a particular cheat. Other times the number might be smaller if we're just really on top of an issue or if there's no other major one being picked up at that particular point in time. What's also really important with helping us identify the cheats and then take action against those cheaters is those player reports. And the frequency of those and how many of those we get from you really helps us find those cheaters on a quick basis and actually be able to take action at verifying them, making sure they really are proper cheaters, and then get them out of the game so that you have a better, fair experience.
Yeah, and so we mentioned some bans on console with mouse and keyboard. So why don't we talk about the AnyBrain integration, which is the tool we use for this?
Yeah, sure. So AnyBrain integration is something that happened alongside 2.7. And this is an anti-cheat that is on top of Easy Anti-Cheat. It is another system that is based mostly, but not only, on biometric analysis. So it gives us another way to see and detect cheaters. On console servers, namely, it's used primarily for now to detect mouse and keyboard usage. It has been doing a great job, and we had, like Steven mentioned, like 400 more plus bans. But it also is used on PC. It gives us new detection vectors to get more information on some people that we didn't have proof yet. It gives us additional information to ban those bad actors. Over the next 6 months, the AnyBrain integration will continue. It is not just a one-shot that is done. We continue to improve the detection system, feed more information, and we collaborate with them to basically make the solution better.
Yeah, it's awesome. And of course, if needed, we're going to talk about this in future streams as well. And there's one very important topic, the high ping kill cams. And you wanted to cover that today as well.
This is something that we know about. It can lead to have very suspicious kill cam when you get killed by someone who has high ping. And this is an issue that was fixed. But unfortunately, it's not in 2.8. I actually fixed that extremely recently. And here you can have a picture of a before and after. It will come along 2.9. You can see on the left, this is a high ping shot that was a valid shot, but it leads to a confusing kill cam. In 2.9, you will have an adjusted kill cam that will show where you were actually shot. So you can have a before and after there.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. I think this is something people have been talking about for a while. And another hot topic is region lock. So let's talk about where we are right now.
Yeah, this is a very hot topic, and it's also related to high ping. Region lock remains a priority for the Fair Play Task Force, but it is a very tricky topic. The previous implementation that we had a massive caveat. 5% to 50% of the player base, depending on network settings, were circumventing the system. At the same time, some players were also stuck into high ping queues, although they were fair player, it's just because of location and network settings again. We believe now that we have a strong path forward with some technical improvement, but unfortunately we cannot give a specific timeline yet on that topic. So some of the challenge that we encountered, we see a lot of people that would just ask, why don't we just remove region selection and have region lock that way? It's unfortunately not that easy, because as VPN exists, it would be extremely easy to circumvent that. At the same time, just having a strict ping cap doesn't solve the problem either, because it would act on honest player and would prevent them to play the game all along. And this is not something that we want. Our goal is to provide the best possible matchmaking quality while allowing fair player to actually play the game. So this is a complex technical and regional matchmaking challenge that is being worked on right now. And yeah, we will share more on that topic in the following streams, that's for sure.
Also, there are some rumors in the community about certain topics. So let me just say the rumors and let's tell them why it's actually not true. So first of all, they always say that Square nicknames prevent us, Crytek, from detecting the players.
Yeah, happy to say that that is very much false. We can identify which player is which, not based on what display name is displayed in the client, but actually there's a whole bunch of different IDs behind the scenes that help us understand who's who. So yeah, make sure you're reporting a player. It doesn't matter what you can see in that UI, if it's squares or whatever, we can actually still find out who is cheating and get them.
And talking about reports, some players do say that in-game reporting is completely useless.
Yeah, I will take that one. That's also absolutely not true. It's, in fact, one of the main statistics that we use to spark investigation or reach conclusion on some players. So please continue reporting people using the in-game tool, but also the website tool, because sometimes you could need to report someone you didn't interact with. And even if you cannot see their name, even if it has square names, for example, just write as much information as you have, like your in-game name, the time at which it happened, maybe the map, and we will definitely take a look in that.
And also, we see it quite often that players mention that we use a free version of Easy Anti-Cheat.
This is also not true. In fact, we use quite a few very premium feature, and it is definitely not limited to a basic integration and setup of Easy Anti-Cheat. And another rumor that we can address at the same time is that we definitely have hardware ID bans that we issue for some cheaters. So this is also something that is on the table.
Yeah, the thing to point out with that is really for us, cheating is picking up multiple different points, data points, signals along the way. It's not just relying on one tool or the other. It really is that patchwork that helps us make sure we're getting the right people.
Exactly.
And yeah, that is the Fair Play Task Force segment for today. And thank you again for being here for the first time. And do you have any closing words for today?
I mean, the main thing is this is just the start. We're going to be doing a lot more of this and keeping you updated on what's going on. I'm really trying to make sure that we're catching as many cheaters as possible. So do keep sharing your questions. Do keep sharing your concerns. We are reading everything on social that we can, but also all these reports that we've mentioned a few times. They're really important. They help us catch them as well. So the more information you share with us on these, the better chance we have of catching the ones who are trying to ruin everyone's fun, basically.
And of course, as we mentioned before, we will have an ongoing segment in the developer live streams for the Fair Play Task Force. We'll try to update you on topics and answer your questions as well. And with that, thank you so much, guys, for being here today. It was
Thank you for having us.
great having you. And as we dive into the narrative of the event, how about taking a look at the awesome trailer from Road to Hell?
Soldiers of the 26th Regiment. We're marching where the dead walk and the outlaws rumble. But you were the most honorable soldiers to ever serve. Our superiors denied an investigation into this place, into our countrymen. But we'll find the truth, purge the area clean, and march home heroes for it.
This place has already been cleaned.
What? Where do you think you're going?
I did what you were too weak to do. Now everyone is fed. We're being eaten alive. It's time for us to eat. Or be prey. His enemy is no murderer.
What an amazing trailer. It's literally, I think, one of the best ever. So a big shout out to the creative services team and of course the audio team as well, and Port Sulphur Band for the awesome music. Was really great. And since it already showed some things about the narrative of the event, so you may have picked up on a few things, we have with me our lead narrative designer, Nikki. Hi, Nikki.
Hey, Benz. Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on stream. I think it's been 7 years since I've been on stream last. So it's an honor to be here.
It's been a while, but it's so good to have you here again. And as you guys may know, Nikki is not just the lead narrative designer, but also the lead singer of Port Surfer Band. And I think, Nikki, I actually heard you guys recording a song today.
Yeah, it's true. This morning we recorded a new single that's not coming out for a while, but and then we came right back to get on stream.
Awesome. So why don't we talk a bit about Port Surfer Band, and could you just tell us how the band was actually formed within Hunt, because we always get asked this from their community.
Okay, so it was once upon a time, I guess 8 or so years ago, we were preparing a trailer for E3, I think it was, and we were working on the Hunt theme song in-house. So the audio department, they were recording people in the office stomping and clapping and writing Rise Up Dead Man. And the audio director at the time, Florian Fuslin, he came by the narrative department and was like, wouldn't it be funny if we had some lyrics for this? He didn't know I was a musician, and I was like, my time has come. And I had been making old-time Americana music for a long time, so I wrote the lyrics and melody to that on the bike ride home from work that evening, came in the next day, sang it for Jonas and Florian, and we recorded it, and that went pretty well, and so we just kept rolling with it until we had our first album, and yeah, now we use it as one of the storytelling devices in Hunt.
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, you are the narrative designer and the lead singer. So how does your role affect this? And as you mentioned, the band actually became a part of the game as well. So how does that work?
Well, I mean, it's not really a divide between being the lead narrative designer and the lead singer, because we consider the Port Sulphur Band music part of the narrative design and part of the audio design. And it's kind of a transmedia arm of Hunt, so to say, because the music exists inside of the world. You can hear it on the pianos and on the gramophones that are in-game. You can also hear it in the menu, and all of the lyrics tell a story from the current event that's going on or characters from the world. So we really use it to build up that like depth of feeling you're really in this world, and use it to tell more stories.
Absolutely, and there's even some Easter eggs, I think, in the game with Port Sulphur.
That's true.
You haven't found it. I think there's even maybe a QR code somewhere you may be able to find. Who knows? So, Nikki, the band had some major achievements during the year. So could you just tell us about that a bit?
Well, this year we had a really huge achievement, and we hit 100 million streams. So just a big thank you to every one of you who's out there listening. We did not expect this when we started putting this together, you know, just in the office with everybody who's around. I mean, fun fact, this guy plays drums on one of our songs.
Two, actually.
Exactly,
Two,
yes. Yeah. So yeah, we're doing it all in-house, and we're all deeply invested in this world. So we can really make it come to life. But yeah, so 100 million streams was just unbelievable. We've now released 3 vinyl records, 2 of which were in the German album charts, which was also an incredible milestone. We have a music video for Rise Up Dead Man, and we release a single with every event.
And there's a bunch of albums released as well, I think.
Yes, we're on four albums digitally. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Music, any of the streaming platforms.
And please, if you could have some of the more, just link that in the chat as well, so people can, if not already, make sure to follow it and subscribe to it as well. Oh, and actually, that brings to a point that we actually have a YouTube channel for Port Sulphur Band as well. So you will be able to find it on YouTube, and we will starting to populate it with only Port Sulphur Band content as well.
Exactly, and don't forget to pre-save the upcoming single for The Road to Hell. We will be releasing on June 8th, but you can pre-save it on Spotify now, so you get a notification when it's out.
And actually, before we dive into the actual event, Laura, what can you tell us about that song? Because I think they heard it in the trailer.
Yes, you can already hear the instrumental in the trailer. There's a vocal version as well. I wrote that one together with Simon Lomé. He's senior audio designer. And it really, I don't know, for me, it really hits the kind of like horrors of war atmosphere. It's got a killer bridge. I think you can hear some of in the trailer. So I'm really excited for that one to go out.
It's amazing, and I think it was so fun to actually hear about Port Sulphur Band from you on the stream. So, thank you for that. But let's dive into the narrative part of things and the
All
event.
right.
So let's talk about the narrative for Road to Hell.
All right, so where should I start? Basically, the essence of the story, you can already start to understand from the title. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. That saying is where the event title comes from. So we have this group of military characters with really good intentions. You'll remember in Devil's Trail, there were some scouts that were sent ahead. This military group coming up in Road to Hell are the people who sent them. And they sent them ahead to try to gather information about the rumors they're hearing about this corruption in Colorado and Louisiana. But the scouts disappear. That does not go well. So we've got Commander Whitlaw, and he tries to get an official group to go in and investigate this, but he is denied by his superiors. So he puts together a rogue group. There were 25 infantry regiments at the time, so they call their rogue group the 26th Regiment. And they head down to Louisiana to find out what happened to their comrades, the scouts, as well as to ostensibly take care of the corruption themselves. And they are bankrolled by the statesman, who's now called the Delegate, Desolation's Delegate. You'll see him again in this update. So when they arrive in Louisiana, they are horrified by what they see. It's like nothing they've ever encountered before. And on one side, they're beset by monsters, and on the other side, hunters who are angry at the outside involvement. And I would say their first mistake is their arrogance, and their second is their optimism. And basically, they slowly descend into madness as they face the horrors of the bayou. So Commander Whitlaw, he starts to become paranoid and authoritarian. Like, one thing you'll always notice in our stories is that the corruption just magnifies qualities that people already had within them. So he's real twitchy. He's turning on his own people right and left, imagining that they're betraying him. Sergeant Riggins, his right-hand man, he starts to become superstitious and like gets into some weird occult stuff. He starts feeding the soldiers corrupted meat. It's not a good scene. And the Stronghold, which you're going to hear more about later in the stream, that's the location where the 26th Regiment had their last stand. And basically, Sergeant Riggins is losing his mind. He locks the doors and bars a bunch of people outside and watches them get slaughtered. And the soldiers who are left inside don't fare much better because he makes them participate in his weird rituals. And like I said, he's feeding everybody corrupted meat. It's not going to go well for them.
Definitely not. Nikki, it's so nice to hear the actual lore from you on stream compared to when myself and Dennis, even though Dennis does a great job explaining it, I think it just
glad to be here, and shout out to the whole narrative team. This is the work of multiple people over a long period of time to make this all come together.
Absolutely. And you can, of course, find out more in the game as well, just by playing it, but also just reading all the little snippets there.
Exactly. You'll find a lot of hints about the things that I just mentioned around the Stronghold in the signage. You'll find evidence of some of Sergeant Riggins' strange rituals if you pay attention to the environment.
That's one of my favorite parts. But with the event, we also have a release of a DLC called It Takes a Rogue. So what about that, Nikki?
So I think some of you have recognized the Ironclad as inspired by Ned Kelly, who is an Australian historical figure. So we thought we would take his story as inspiration and run with it. I mean, another common theme in Hunt narrative is that you're not really sure what's the truth, what's fact, what's fiction, what's just legend. And Ned Kelly is someone who, in his time, had a lot of legends built up around his story. But he has a pretty crazy story, and he fits right in with Hunt. So we kind of asked ourselves, what if he didn't die in 1880 when he allegedly did, and faked his own death and came to America and joined Hunt? So we embellished the truth a little bit, as we like to do. Fact is sometimes stranger than fiction. So We'll see if any of you notice what changes we made.
And yeah, I'm just so happy that we have this hunter because I know that people on Reddit, etc., have been always asking for it for like years now. So
Yeah.
it's so cool.
Yeah, he's a stone cold badass.
Yeah, he
Look at him.
definitely is. Yeah, yeah. And he does have some cool equipment with him as well. First of all, such as life, the automat.
And such is life, those were allegedly his very last words on his deathbed. Again, is that fact? Is that fiction? Who can say? Also, the name of the DLC I didn't mention, It Takes a Rogue. The line from his famous letters is, "It takes a rogue to catch a rogue." So that was where the title came from.
Yeah, absolutely badass and cool. And we also have a PAX true shot with him, Widow's son.
Exactly. His father was killed under potentially mysterious circumstances. So this gun honors that part of his story.
And they all fit his equipment as well so well. I think they look really cool. And he also comes with a vitality shot called Make a Rise. So super cool.
Yeah, fantastic.
Can't
Excited
wait
for this one.
for you guys to try it out. And it will launch alongside the event as well. So you will be able to get it. And Nikki, I think with that, we sadly came to the end of this segment.
Well, it was an honor to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being here and I hope to have you in for the future as
Gladly.
well. Talking about the lore. And with that being said, let's just take a quick look at the DLC in action as well. And after that, we'll be back with the event itself.
This place has already been cleaned.
Man that kills his enemy is no murderer.
Welcome back, and we are ready to dive into the nitty-gritty of the event with all the features and all the new things, as well as the inventory slot rework towards the end. So make sure to stick around. And we have some guests. Hi, Dennis.
Hello, how's it going?
And
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. And we have Rohan as well.
Hey guys, I'm a senior technical designer on Hunt Showdown. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have both of you here, and I believe we are going to be as a group now till the end of this stream because we have
It's gonna be a long one.
we have so much stuff.
Talk a bit about gameplay, maybe, yeah?
Yeah, and Dennis, how did you like the narrative around the military?
I think it's pretty amazing. I'm super excited for kind of going beyond the scouts now to actually have like this ragtag force come in. It was really fun, like researching some of those pieces, like even understanding how small the US Army actually was at that time with like just like 25,000 people or so. And just understanding all of these moving pieces and also like uniforms and researching around that time because it was a transition period. So super exciting. As usual, it kind of influenced a lot of like nitty-picky details of some of the like mechanics we built. So
Absolutely, and I feel like a lot of those details made it actually into the game in not just level design, but of course lore and the weapons and all the cool stuff. So let's start about the overview of the event and what we can expect. So of course, as we talked about it, this is a military themed event and it will tell the story about the escalating conflict as the army or the military faces all those horrors of the bayou, and the trailer I think gave an amazing representation of that as well. And it also shows the difference between like regular soldiers and actual, demon blood or demon shot hunters that deal with the monsters so easily, sometimes not in my case though. And it's very important to talk about the date. So that means the event will start June 9th, which I believe is next week. And we'll go until September 8th.
yes, only 3 months of awesomeness.
And then obviously one of the biggest features of the event is the new strongholds, our kind of largest 17 compound that we've done. It features a cage boss target, and I think there's a bunch of more level changes around to make the world more immersive. We'll go into all of these a bit in detail later.
Yeah, we also have like a reworked inventory system we're going to talk about. You might have seen a blog post already from yesterday, and some of our like partners have kind of released their videos about it, their own takes. So you might already be well informed, but I think maybe we can shed a bit more light on some of those details as well.
And as always, we have a new battle pass with a bunch of rewards, the skins you may expect, but we also have a bunch of player profile customization items in there, some really cool animations, which you should definitely check out, and more. But why don't we just take a look at the legendary skins?
Yeah, let's have a quick look at them. Those really cool rewards there. Actually, very much like military themed. Everything is around like the road to hell here.
So of course we have our 2 hunters, Nikki already talked about, in the battle pass. Really cool. Then we have good intentions for all variants of the Scottfield.
Yeah, I like this one because it's kind of like a tame, like a simpler skin in terms of like it's more grounded.
Yeah.
But it kind of fits in nicely with some of the guns that are usually a bit more on the frontier look side of things. So I really like those.
So I think it looks really cool. And again, it's for all variants.
Yeah.
And then we have like the very event-themed skins as well, starting with Poetic Justice, which is for the Liver Shorty and the Mace variant of it as well.
Yeah, like for me, this is really cool because like we don't have that many of the Mace skins so far, so this is like a very welcome addition. Also, like I like this general more wireframey look of it. Like they're more like stripped down, bare bones, down to the essentials. I think it's something visually we kind of see in a number of the skins today.
Yeah, in the same theme, we also have Patriarch's Shadow, which is for the Infantry 73L, the Bayonet, and the Sniper version of that as well. And again, you kind of see what you said. Like,
I think this further goes into the wireframey look, right? I really love the stock of it. It's kind of sick.
Yeah, I think it looks super cool. And we also have a flare pistol called Stoke the Madness.
Yeah, can't have enough of those.
It's always very welcome, especially if you want to set some things on fire. And we also have the broken
things.
And the machete. Yeah.
Yeah, really cool look as well. I think like it's one of the really good looking ones because it is very different from the other machetes, but it still it looks the part. You can see it and it's like, yep, big blade, long. Okay, yep, I know what to do with that one.
Yeah, I like how you can like see through it in the
like a proper cleaver. Yeah.
Then we have some of the military themed skins in the battle pass as well, starting with the ammo box called Gilded Defense.
Yeah, that's a nice one as well.
We also have the counterpart, which is for the conversion and the chain pistol variant of this as well.
Really, really nice.
Yeah, they look amazing. And Strong Constitution, which is for the first aid kit.
Can't have enough of those medkits either. I think this one is really cool with all the military theme around it. Like it feels very fitting.
And that's not the only theme because we have some, let's say, fancy looking items as well. We have the ceremonial cure for the regen shot, both as you can see, the weak and the strong variants too. Yeah. I hope I don't have to use them too much, but if I do, they look amazing. We have Let Freedom Sing, which is for the officer.
Yeah, this one we even saw on the trailer where like Commander Whitlaw like gunning down those 2 of his former soldiers with it at the end, make his way to the stronghold.
Absolutely, and looks really cool too. Then we have a skin for the Dolch and the Bullseye variant of the Dolch, golden hair trigger.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites for sure. Look, like just the black and gold.
It's a classic.
Combo.
Yeah. It always works.
Yeah, always works for real. Then we have the saber that you may have also seen in the trailer called Mounted Flourish.
It was like our first proper like saber duel in Han Showdown in a proper way. Like really liked how this was executed.
Yeah, I actually seen some comments about this that oh wow, this was really realistic. So
it's gonna be fun seeing people stab people in the trenches of the stronghold, right?
And there's a couple of mocap suits get torn from the blades in the process. So
then we have Due Process, which is for what is that?
It looks like a new gun we might want to talk about a bit.
Yeah, it looks new, so I cannot say, but the skin looks very cool. And then we have checks and balances, which is for, of course, the Nitro Express.
Yeah, it's more checks and less balances in this case, but like a proper Nitro.
Definitely. And of course, as in every battle pass, we have our list of weapon charms. So we have Bad Faith. Cool to have. Hopefully gives you some luck. Then we have Dreams of Glory. With a horse, very cute. Lost Identity.
That's a nice one. Very
Probably
basic.
someone dropped it suddenly. Lost it in some unknown circumstances in the bayou. Then we have the Golden Signet. And for the bonus reward, as always, when you complete the battle pass, and that one extra level is for Liberty.
For Liberty, like you can see, like from the timestamp there that commemorates the Civil War.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned, of course, we have more rewards like player profile customization items. The animations are really cool too, so make sure to check those out, and even more. So
good stuff. Yeah,
so,
clearly militarily themed today. Which is
yeah.
great. Yep.
And yeah, we waited long enough now, and we talked about all these things. And Nikki also mentioned the stronghold where Vitla locked himself in. So let's talk about the new event compound, the Stronghold.
Yeah, so the Stronghold is kind of our most ambitious 17th compound, I'd say, to date. It takes all the learnings we have from like the Bile Weaver Nest, the Murder Circus, and we truly believe this is like the amalgamation of all that effort, right? Like the team, I think, knocked it out of the park with this, and they're very large. I think once you see it in game, it's like an awesome sight. We will have 2 locations per map, and with 4 maps, obviously, that makes 8 unique layouts of the Stronghold. Just because they're all unique, I think for the first 2 weeks, we'll only have 1 location per map active, so players can get a bit familiar of like the different areas, kind of the rules of how the Stronghold is built, and then they have an idea how to kind of approach this place.
Yeah, it's like learning like entire new boss layer.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And then obviously after the 2 weeks, then all of the locations will be unlocked. And around this area, you'll also find some military-themed grunts, similar to like the circus grunts, which I think Dennis is very excited about.
They're really cool because, like I mentioned this in the beginning about like us researching a little bit, also even into uniforms and stuff. Like so, like if you think about like the US Army of that time, you think about like the blue drab uniforms and stuff, right? But actually, they were in this transition phase. So like some of them had these more modern khaki uniforms. So also for these grunt variants, we tried to mix them a little bit. So some had the older, some had the newer fatigues, and kind of like you said, to kind of like distinguish them a little bit visually. So you see them like strolling around, like Whitlaws them in, like what's left of them.
Yeah, lost to corruption, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you mentioned that there's a caged boss. So what is that about?
Yeah, so let's get into nitty-gritties of what's in the Stronghold, right? The caged boss target, I think, is awesome. Basically, talking about a little bit of the narrative, right? Nikki spoke about Sergeant Riggins kind of losing his mind, feeding people corrupted meat. What is corrupted? A boss target. So you can kind of connect the dots here. The idea was they got the boss target to kind of experiment on and send it off, but they lost their minds and started eating it instead. Fun. But what that means for us for gameplay is very nice. We have a banishable target in there, and because the strongholds are so big and we want combat to happen there and we want you to defend them, and this allows that, right? So you have to sit there to get the objective, and I think it promotes really cool fights around the Stronghold.
It's a nice focal point, right?
Exactly.
It gets everybody interested to go to this place, and also we talk about this in a bit, like, but you know where this is from the get-go, right? Like, so
Exactly.
the different motivation, where like, do you chase the regular boss, do you go for this one? So it's really, really cool.
And then in addition to that, obviously there's all kind of loot in the Stronghold. We'll see that in the video in a bit. Scarce weapons, ammo, and some cargo crates, as you might have seen in some of our Partium videos as well. For now, you can extract those to get some rewards, but let's see what else you can do with that in the future.
I think that there's still some really uplifting ideas around this whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, it's basically, there's like sky's the limit on this.
Truly. And then on the side, each Stronghold obviously includes Destiny's Dial. I mean, it's a community favorite. It's fun. Gamba your pledge marks away. And then there are kind of three main areas of the Stronghold, right? The command tent, the trenches, and then the main fortified building.
Yeah, and since you mentioned those, why don't you also take a look at the video so we can see?
Yeah,
Yep.
we can talk over some of those pieces
Yeah.
later. Yeah, cool.
I mean, so you can already see the scale of the stronghold, right? It's like really large. On the right, you kind of see the tent area. In front, you see the main building.
I really like the tent area and the perks there. Like it's really like a little bit outside of the influence. So if you hold the center, you might be missing out on what's in the tent. So there's always like a nice thing also for maybe some besieging attacking team to also
Yeah.
benefit from.
And over here, you see the cage boss target isn't fully dead, and hence boss whispers are also active. So you kind of know if people are around. But once you banish the boss, you're kind of all there on yourself.
The normal process, yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
look what's there. We'll talk about that a bit later.
Yeah, so the army definitely brought some stuff.
Yeah. Over here, you can see like the trench area. Kind of all strongholds have a trench, a command tent, and then the main fortified building, right?
But the cool thing about these trenches is also like they both serve the attacker but also the defender. Like, you can obviously kind of pre-mine this a little bit, want to be careful around it, but also that gives you angles maybe to approach the main stronghold location a little bit
Yeah.
as well. So
And something also in the command tent, in all command tents, is the scouting map, which reveals obviously the hidden locations. We'll talk about those in a bit. You have your standard boons and the tarot card board here to get 3 tarot cards, obviously first come, first serve.
and the tarot cards are all basically randomly chosen.
Yes. And kind of see some of the sightlines you can get from within the stronghold.
Yeah, it's gonna take a moment for people to learn all the different angles, etc. Like what the ways are in, etc. We try to also keep it in a way that like you can't get in everywhere, right? So like we kind of keep control about where you can get in, where not. So similar to like a boss lair, there are certain ways that you can control, maybe with traps or with the concertina bomb.
Here you can see some of the other rewards in the main fortified building, mainly to replenish your ammo. And over here you can see the new or returning sealed explosive box, which you can pay 1 pledge mark to get kind of 3 different explosives.
Yeah, it's like a random selection basically. Yeah. Yeah, that's the
Wow.
strongholds. good
Super
stuff.
proud of what the team was able to
Yeah.
do.
Well, what's really cool about this whole thing as well is like, as you can see, like with all the trenches, like we were able to use a bit new technology for us that allows us to kind of use deformable pieces and can actually dig trenches properly. In the past, like when we, for example, added the circus, we kind of like had to flatten the terrain for it in advance from the map, and then we would layer on top. Now we can actually be a bit more destructive and actually kind of tear things apart, and that obviously gives us some really cool stuff for the future as well.
Yeah, I mean, kind of harping on that topic, we'll see here, talking about the trenches and the terrain tool, we've not only have them in the stronghold, but we've taken to like kind of expanding it and kind of creating a more immersive atmosphere around the whole map. So you find like a lot of little areas with like these bunkers, these little trenches with some loot scattered around. I think it really adds to the full experience. And then in addition to the stronghold, we also have a new supply point called the medical supply point. You might have noticed in the stronghold, we did not show a restoration kit. This is where the medical supply point comes in. This is like your only place to use the restoration kit. And it has a bunch of goodies in it as well, like a 4-shot boon, some assortment of syringe shots, and now consumable medical packs around.
You can take them away and then you place them somewhere in the trenches or wherever you want, or take them to the stronghold if you're close by.
Yeah.
And actually, we also have a video for that. So
Let's have a
take
look at it.
at the medical text.
So you can see the icon here. This will be marked on the map by default. It is also one of the locations with the scouting map, as you will see in a second.
What's really cool about this one is that, like, similar to what we did with the tents in the stronghold, like you do have to kind of think about, like, okay, well, I can defend this central location, but I can't really restore my health. Or I can also be, as an attacker, maybe like keep that place locked down. So even if our attack fails maybe initially, we can recover from it a little bit. So it just adds like a different dynamic for like attack defend type of scenarios.
Exactly. And it's a whole different experience not having the restoration kick at like the main 17th compound. Yeah. So would be very interesting to see how players utilize it.
And as players may have seen in our ongoing event right now, we also have some military supplies.
Yeah. We teased this obviously in the last 2 weeks, currently running Devil's Trail, but they come back in 2.8 proper as a new supply point. This is also one of the points that will be revealed on the map by default. It also contains a scouting map and it has a bunch of other goodies. For instance, the Catalyst trait is here for free, obviously. First come, first serve there.
It's an important part. Like
Yeah.
so unlike the Burn Convoy, where it was a sealed trade, so kinda everybody could go there. In this case, really, yeah, as you said, like it's first come, first serve, like because it will disappear eventually after the first interaction. So it gives you also like another motivation to say like, hey, should we go for the stronghold? Should we go for the medical? Should we go for the military initially? And it kind of breaks things up a little bit, especially with this whole hidden information topic.
And yeah, as you mentioned, we talked about revealing the map, so and that you can find the map in some places. So
Yeah, I mean, so I think this is the new mechanic that we introduced in Devil's Trail with the hidden information, the extracts, the supply points all being hidden.
Yeah.
I think we got some overwhelmingly positive feedback and response. Obviously, some pain points that I think we've addressed with the changes we're making, right? So now you'll have 3 locations on the map revealed by default: the stronghold, the medical supply, and the military supply. And it's a much better spread of where you can find the map. And I think it takes away kind of some of the frustration with the scout towers where we had only 2 on the map.
And then also like interacting with the scout map, for example, doesn't reveal
The wild targets
the wild target anymore, right? So it doesn't give you like all of the information,
Exactly.
but like it shows you what locations exist besides the ones initially revealed, including the exits, of course.
Yep.
So like I think that's a really strong dynamic, and we've seen lots of positivity around it. So we keep on experimenting with it, just having like 50% more locations to get a map. I think should especially address some of the pain points. So maybe by chance in the current update, like 2 of the towers were maybe in the other side and was just very hard to get to. So now there's a more of a fair chance to get there.
Yep. And then the last point, I think it covers again, like, we've really taken the time to make the world feel like the military has arrived and not just in this one location. So I'm super excited to players to kind of see that and discover it for themselves.
Like little in between locations, a little bit of a checkpoint here or roadblock there, and then like some trenches they had like. So I think they took quite some time to find like the proper locations for their strongholds eventually. So like they've been spreading all around, and probably like step by step had to give up those positions as they kind of fell back to the central stronghold for their last stand basically.
absolutely, it's so cool to see this and also immerse yourself in. But we also had something very immersive going on right now, the Inferno. And some people may ask, what about the Inferno?
Yeah, so the Inferno is something we want to continue featuring. However, for this update for Tubanet, like for Rotel, we actually will take a break there. And the main reason is that because we're doing all of these changes in the level, like all these little trenches, etc., it just isn't very compatible with the visuals that we've set up for the Inferno. So we've decided, like, for this event, we're going to take a break from Inferno, but we want to get it back like as quickly as possible afterwards in the next update. So it will return much sooner than maybe it has returned in the past.
That's great to hear. So now that we covered kind of like the stronghold area and the map changes, let's talk a bit about player profile customization.
Yes. So in general, like there's new cool like cosmetic pieces, content, etc. Obviously, they're being supported with like titles and avatars. We also have like a new like stat tracker for this new rifle, the 1890 Cavalry we saw earlier. We'll talk about this in a bit. And then also like there's going to be like additional progression and customization options just in general. An important point is like, so we plan on having like a mid-event update as well. And that one will, for example, introduce like another 25, I think, profile avatars for existing hunters. So just to kind of keep on adding more and more back of those that's like people like. We understand that very often it's hard to make a connection to the player card if you can't really represent yourself. So, for example, if your favorite hunter that you always play isn't really there, the whole thing is obviously not as nearly as interesting for you to use. So we just want to make sure that over time we've added back all of those hunters so that you can really choose the ones that you want to kind of identify with, or basically be your poster for other people's dev screens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like players have been asking for that, and a lot of DLCs are included in it. And if you already have the DLC, you will actually receive the avatars as well.
Exactly. So all of those you basically get retroactively if you own the DLC, or the moment you buy a DLC, you would get those as well.
Now let's go into the gameplay changes side of the update. And to kick that off, we have a new introductory story challenge.
Yes, so as part of our ongoing journey with improving our onboarding, as you know, like we talk about this every stream with like new additions we do around, for example, the hunter bots and other pieces. We now introduced a new story challenge, a free story challenge that is basically active by default for every new player. It's called Let the Gunshots Ring, and think of it as an introduction story challenge. So it has some very, very basic, very core to the main objective path focused goals to achieve. So like banish a boss, kill a boss, that type of stuff, right? So we want to use that, kind of have a bit more hand-holding for new players, that they also get like a bit more validation about doing the right things early on, understanding the core beats, and they can also obviously go there and kind of check what's missing still that might make them think about certain parts of the game, maybe that either they have forgotten from the tutorial or didn't really get covered. So it's something that allows players to just like have a bit more hand-holding there and ease them into the mechanics. And for that one, we also have repurposed some of our kind of free cosmetic pieces that we have in the store, have had in the store for years already. So they still remain free, of course, but like we kind of now give them to the player a bit more meaningfully as rewards for different chapters. So by completing those chapters, this is how you would unlock them. Obviously, if you have them unlocked already, we wouldn't lock them again, but primarily for new players, it gives them something to kind of say like, oh, that's really cool, I did this thing and I get like this reward there. That's literally, some people were not even noticing that they have these free skins sitting around somewhere and didn't claim them properly. So this way we hope we can put a bit more focus on them, and I think it feels very nice for new players to kind of get some of these rewards there.
Absolutely. And now let's dive into something super exciting and very big, very game-changing to come into the game. And I know Darius especially is very excited to go into the nitty-gritty about this, the inventory slot rework.
Yeah, so this is like one of the maybe the biggest change in terms of systems we've been doing in this game for at least several years now. In general, inventory slot rework is addressing how you can equip your loadouts, what combinations work, what gameplay does it allow, how do we support playstyles, etc. So we've kind of looked a little bit at the current system and kind of like looked at, okay, what are the pain points? What is really not working so well? So it's just like a recap quickly. I mean, what is this current system that we have? We have the 2 weapon slots. And they allow you to put weapons in based on a large, medium, and small categorization. And then there was a rule set there where you can choose either like a large and a small or 2 mediums. And if you were to equip the Quartermaster trait, then you were able to kind of expand the small to another medium, so the large and a medium. So it was a very basic rule set, just to give you like some relationship there and allow you to kind of equip like maybe a rifle and a pistol or maybe 2 medium type of weapons together in an interesting way. In addition to that, we also had, or have right now, because update isn't live yet, we have four tool slots so that you can equip 4 distinct tools. And we had 4 consumables, a different type of equipment that would obviously be consumed on use, like explosives, bombs, etc., shots, that you can kind of choose from as well. And while the system was, I think, pretty okay for giving you enough variety, there were some pain points clearly in this one. And the main problem really was just the competition within each of these categories, right? Like, so it is really a challenge for balancing to kind of like figure out that if you only have kind of 3 categories to go by, not every weapon always fits in the correct one, but then you're kind of bound by certain like size dimensions and stuff.
Exactly. I mean, it gets difficult to balance, and then we want to add more weapons in the arsenal, but then at some point they all start to look the same if we don't expand the system like we're doing right now.
Yeah, like so the current system it's kind of been more grounded on the actual physical size of a weapon, right? But it could mean that like we actually have a weapon that is very similar with its physical attributes, like something sawn off with a short barrel, but actually it could be on a completely different level in terms of the gameplay balance needs it has, power level it has, and then if you can choose between that or another, like it very easily chokes out the other not so attractive options. So dominating choices is basically what we saw was one of the bigger issues, where the same weapons were used repeatedly and some other weapons were never used. And that's one of the main things we thought, like, okay, how can we break this up a little bit? How can we diversify these loadouts a little bit more? And that's why we came up with the new rules. In a similar way, having those 4 tool and consumable slots, they technically were not 4 slots each because there were some non-negotiables in there, right? Like you always want a med kit, or most of the time want to have a melee tool of some sort. Some players even 2, or if you play in a team, like using or bringing choke bombs along,
Exactly.
etc. So in practice, what it meant is like for those 4 slots each for tools or consumables, you maybe had 1 or maybe 2 choices really to make in there. So you could have brought some traps maybe, or one specific trap, or you could maybe brought a flare pistol or whatever was important to you on the tool side. And then on the consumable side, in a similar way, you probably always wanted to have at least 1 explosive, maybe 1 shot of some sort. Now we had the tarot cards also come in. So like there was a lot of competition. And basically just leaving you with this 1 choice means that you can't really express it because everything competes for that one slot and in the respective categories.
So let's take a look at what we are doing with the rework.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, we are basically introducing a more granular level of categorizations, which is not just the size, but also now a bit of the power that a weapon has. So it's more of an abstract thing. So we don't call it a large slot anymore. We give it like a number value to kind of relate to one another. And we are focusing on the weapon slot category as one part. And then we also want to have a rework on the tools and consumables where we can merge them all into a shared pool. But there's some limits, and we're going to talk about each of those 2 categories now a bit more in detail.
Yeah, so let's start with the weapons and what we actually changed here.
Yeah. You want to quickly give the overview on this one, or should I?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
This is your sister, Dennis What's podcast right now.
Yeah.
It's his brainchild, you know. Go ahead.
All right. So in a way, we basically now have categories of 1 to 5. So rather than like 3 categories with small, medium, and large, you have 5, which is more granular to kind of like categorize a weapon by. And at the same time, we also give you a total capacity for your 2 weapon slots of 5. So which means I need to make a choice now. How do I populate my 2 weapon slots with those capacity of 5 total? I can put like in one slot a weapon with a size of 3, and the other one a weapon with a size of 2 to add up to 5. Or I can say I want to have a weapon with size 4 in one, and maybe then only a size 1 in the other one. However, we also have Quartermaster still, and that has been redesigned in a way that we add just +1 to the capacity. So it just adds more flexibility to your choices, and just makes it like very interesting to kind of like combine things in a meaningful way.
It just opens up so many possibilities now, right?
Yeah.
So.
We see some of those now in a second as we go through some of the examples and just kind of like bring that system a bit closer to you guys.
Exactly. So let's start actually looking at those examples.
Yeah. All right. So at first glance, like it looks kind of the same, right?
Centennial.
Yeah.
So
Perfectly
like
fine.
look, a large weapon and a small weapon, right? But as you can already see with the little size indicators, like little squares there on each of those, is that because they are now differently categorized, like the Centennial actually is a larger weapon than, for example, like the other one next to it. So what that means is that we have more options to distinguish between the power level and kind of also like, to a certain extent the physical attributes still obviously of a weapon to kind of find these combinations. But yeah, I mean, it looks kind of same, and a lot of the loadouts still remain valid basically.
Absolutely. But in some cases, the Quartermaster will actually not be needed anymore.
Yeah, so in a way, what it means is that because of the 5 points, you can actually equip certain loadouts now that before would have required Quartermaster, right? Like bringing dual pistols, for example, it's like size 2, and then normally you would have had like a medium plus a large, and then you need a Quartermaster to kind of do that. Well, without a Quartermaster, you can still equip this right now. You can actually have this size 3 weapon, and then you have the 2 pistols, adds up to 5 total. It's totally valid.
Yeah, similarly, you could get another size 3 and like some of the precision variants or 2 slots as well. So yeah, I think those are where kind of this inventory slot rework shines, right?
Yeah, it's like this mid category, which goes directly into this direction we talked about in the beginning, where we really want to diversify loadouts. So we want to bring some of those options, which might have been just dominated a little bit by the meta guns, like be that the Mosin or like an uppercut or whatever, right? Like rather than then being always the go-to weapons, like there's now an argument to decide, like, I take this weapon, which is not maybe the meta choice, but it allows me to bring maybe a stronger backup weapon or some other pairing, and then that gives it a quality of its own as a loadout, to maybe be more competitive and actually have good success with it.
But of course, we have those as well that are where Quartermaster still may be needed, or you must have it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one, a very good example is like, so this would have been a 2 medium slot out of the box loadout back in the day. And I think everybody agrees this would be a very strong loadout in practice. Now, you can only get to those 6 points now if you add Quartermaster, because you have 5 by default, right? So, but with that in mind, you can now actually equip stuff that normally you would have not been able to equip without a Quartermaster, and it still makes it very interesting in general. So I think there's some really, really good options there. You see, like this example with the Mosin, for example, where without Quartermaster, because the uppercut is a size 2, like, so you can't just pair up the Mosin and the uppercut, which has always been a very natural
muscle
pair,
memory,
right?
no more.
So now, if you want that, you can still equip it, but you need to have to pay for Quartermaster in order to afford this right now. So that doesn't make it impossible for this particular loadout, but at least there is a certain that kind of a tax on top of it that makes you maybe consider, maybe, you know what, actually, let's bring like a Scottfield or an Officer or a True Shot or whatever instead, that might be size 1, and then it works out of the box.
Yep.
Absolutely. And of course, there are some cases when you can create new combinations when you have Quartermaster now.
Yeah, and that's the interesting part, is where we really have like some of the more medium weapons, like medium powered weapons.
The carbines that we've spoken about in our blog post with the 3 slots, right? So you can carry a marksman, Lemart marksman, and an officer carbine, for example, with Quartermaster, and like open up some of the loadouts that were possible when we had Gunrunner when we did it, but like not the oppressive ones when we released Gunrunner.
Yeah. Like very often, some of these weapon choices have been kind of like, okay, you really, really like that gun, or you just want to like meme a little bit, or be like, I'm counter meta and I just really want to play something else. But there's been always good arguments to just ignore some of those guns, to be fair, right? And now there is actually a synergy effect here, where you can say, you know what, I'm gonna bring that Lemart carbine because of the shotgun, and it's like a size 3 weapon with a shotgun, which is like not out of the box because most of the other shotguns are size 4 or even higher. So it just allows you to kind of like figure out, okay, what are the building blocks now? Like, okay, this is my close range, this is maybe my long range option, or this is my rapid fire, this is my precision. You can kind of really pair these things up in a nice way, and it just opens up a lot more opportunities.
And now that we've seen some examples, why don't we talk about what are the advantages of this whole new system?
Yeah, so like in general, like there's a couple of points here that we can now use slots to describe the power level, right? It's really just not longer about the size. And like the example here is
for example, like the Vetterli Cyclone, right? Like the Vetterli family is a carbine and it's mostly 3 slots, but obviously the Cyclone is at a higher power level. So on purpose, we balanced that to be a 4 slot. Yeah,
like it is even a bit more snubby, like compared to the regular. But you could argue like there's this gas blowback system mounted to the side, so maybe it's a bit more bulky. In any ways, like we said, like this case, it's important to, from a balancing perspective, to treat as more of a size 4 weapon.
Yeah. Similarly, the Auto 4, for example, is a 3 slot when some other shorties are 2 slots, right? Just because of its power.
Yeah, but we've been really struggling to find like a good balance for the Auto 4 for quite some time now. Just like it feels very consistent to like the Son of Spectre, the Rival, all the other ones, like in terms of dimension size. So why would it be different? But now we can actually have an argument about that when I see so like, and that the same is true, for example, for a Dolch P versus like a Scottfield precision, right? It just gives you a chance to say like, this thing just, it's taxed a little bit higher. There's like a drawback to it, and then you have to make up your mind if you want to go for the weaker option and have then a second stronger option, or if you want to have the stronger main weapon choice, but then maybe have a weaker backup alongside that. The second thing is that we can now actually differentiate between subclasses. So like one thing that we've had quite a lot of different weapons for already in the arsenal, but really never distinguished because they were kind of competing against each other on the same level, is rifles and carbines.
Yeah, with rifles being 4 slot now and the carbines being 3 slot, we can kind of give them their own class, and so that now they don't compete with each other, and now we can balance them according to their family versus having like a terrible time with all of these in the large slot, right?
This is also like when we go through some of the details later on about like for example how ammunition changes, you will notice that a lot of weapons which have, for example, moved to like a category size 3 now, we've actually also stripped some of the extra ammunition because some of them really only had that extra ammo because they had to go up against like the top of the class before. So how do you justify picking up, let's say, a Frontier if you can have let's say a Centennial, right? So now there is a clear difference there. The third one is that we can now better tax strong weapons. So weapons that are really hard to balance.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How big is the Maynard Sniper silencer?
5 points now.
Yeah, so what does that mean? It basically means if you wanted to bring it, you base without quartermaster, you can just bring it and nothing else.
Yeah, like no backup whatsoever.
And at most, as a backup, you couldn't get a single slot pistol, right?
Yeah, if you
you
put
can't do a
quartermaster.
Maynard sniper with a shorty or something.
Yeah, sniper silencer.
Silencer, sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and the same story for the Nitro, for the Aftermath, and
the
Auto 5 as well, like the bigger cousin. So, like, it allows us to kind of use the even more additional tags, saying, hey, your second weapon slot is completely gone. You can't even equip anything, maybe unless you spend some points on Quartermaster. And that makes it very interesting because that also means that there are certain combinations of weapons that you just cannot pair up anymore. Like, so you cannot pair up a size 4 weapon with a size 3 weapon because it adds up to 7 and you can never achieve 7, right? Even Quartermaster, you only ever achieve a size 6. So that also means that we had to kill some darlings here, right? Like, so some loadouts, which were obviously very often very powerful, very effective, have now been very intentionally restricted, so that you can't pair them up in the way you could pair them up, because we really want you to kind of consider some of the alternatives that you can still put in there. Like, you can find another shotgun, maybe not the Auto 4, but maybe you bring the rifle hand cannon, or you bring like the Spectre Shorty, which are still like size 2 category, where the size 3 of the Auto 4. It just gives you these considerations, and that helps like to kind of like reduce the ceiling a little bit of how powerful one loadout can become, and hopefully make some of the other ones more attractive. And then the last one here is that we can also just have a quality of its own by being able to pair two maybe more medium power level, not really meta weapons, as we've seen like with a Lamat carbine and maybe like a Vetterli or something like that. Because like you might not really want to use either of them as your main weapon, but if you understand, okay, you know, like they're not top of their game in their respective categories, but together they create some really cool synergy, because like it's an officer carbine in one, it gives you some rapid fire, short mid range, and maybe you have like one with a sniper scope or whatever there. That just is a quality on its own when it comes to being adaptive to like different combat situations. So yeah, in a nutshell, we can balance better, right? It gives us just more options, and also obviously for future Arsenal editions, which there will be, we have just new ways to kind of balance things up and kind of make sure that like we see a better distribution across usage of all of the weapons in the Arsenal, and kind of combat effectively maybe some of the more aggressive meta choices that seems to have kind of choked out some of that variety in the past.
And now that we covered the weapons, why don't we talk about the other side of the equation, which is the tools and consumables.
Yeah, so that's the second part. And I mean, we talked about this in the beginning briefly. We are now treating the tools and consumables as one shared pool of 8 slots. So when we talked about before, we said like, hey, maybe you only really have 1 or 2 choices really per block of 4, right? For the 4 tools or for the 4 consumables. That actually changes now, because we're talking about having now maybe a pool of 2 to 3 choices that you can influence however you like. So you can kind of shift a little bit in one or the other direction, and that gives you a lot more flexibility to have like the right choices for what you think matches your weapons, maybe what fits your playstyle, and actually have a meaningful transition. Maybe that can be doubling down on traps, like bringing more of them.
I think it really allows you to kind of find your niche for a build, particularly where the older system would have just left you, you couldn't do much. For example, as I said, you can just bring 4 traps if you want, and then have, or 5 traps and have some space for consumables. Or you can take out some tools and then put in a couple of throwables, a couple of placeables, right?
Yeah.
So
and then while the system is very free, it is not completely free. So on the consumable side, so this does not affect the tools, but only the consumables, we also still are enforcing a maximum limit of 4 per category. So we have a number of categories, and they also, you see them like as kind of like new filters on top. You also have now a filter, because obviously there is now a shared list with both tools and consumables, which can be a very long list. You can now filter against the tools, you can filter against the consumables, so you can manage that space a bit better and understand where stuff is. And we have those 4 distinct categories, if you want to quickly talk about those.
Yeah, so we have throwables, deployables, shots, and tarot cards. So throwables basically, it's kind of self-explanatory, anything that you can throw, so fire bombs, explosives, but also in this case, beetles.
Because you throw them.
Deployables is anything you can place, so the placeable ammo box, the med kit, dark dynamite satchel as well. Shots, are your regen shot, vitality shot, etc., and then tarot cards, obviously. And I think personally, this has also opened up a couple of slots for me to bring more tarot cards as well, where previously I would struggle because, as you mentioned, there are certain non-negotiables, and then you're kind of limited, really limited at what you can bring.
I mean, as being the main person behind the tarot card system, I can't blame you for wanting to bring more.
Yeah. Humble brag. No, I'm kidding. If you guys hate it, it wasn't me. If you guys love it, I'm the guy.
And since we explained the system, why don't we also look at some examples of the tools and consumables that you can carry now?
Yeah, let's do that. So, like, in general, I mean, we have like one consideration here, which is like, yeah, sure, the system is very free and open, but it is also a bit self-balancing. That's our hope, and that's what we've seen in practice with our like tuning passes and the playtesting. Is like that you have to kind of like take a risk if you want to over specialize, because you might be missing out some really crucial pieces. So like if you go all in on the tools or all in on the consumables, you might be really strong in that area, but you might definitely be lacking something on the other side. So what we've seen in there is that like it might breathe actually a bit of like life into some of the underutilized gear, right? Like you might, because you now have these 2-3 slots to choose from, not just the one. So you actually might have some time to bring in, like, let's say, like
a poison bomb or something.
Poison bomb or whatever that fits into a certain tactic maybe you want to do. But because of the self-balancing aspect of over-specialization versus flexibility, what we've seen in practice is that people maybe shift this by one.
Exactly. I think in practice you get one or at more 2 slots, really, if you are kind of want to cover most of the areas, right? If you really want to like stretch the system to its limits, you can, but then you leave yourself super vulnerable in one of the areas.
Yeah, let's go through some of those examples maybe quickly.
Yeah, so the first one we have, as you can see, a melee tool, the knuckle, your first aid kit, throwing spear, and then kind of sacrificing a tool slot to gain more space for a consumable concertina bomb, and then now bringing traps and 2 shots, right? So previously this wouldn't have been possible. Clearly 5 tools, 3 consumables.
Yeah.
On
the next one, like a similar story here, where we have like obviously like the throwing knives being like the melee choice and kind of negotiable, same as a med kit. You want to have those, right? So they're kind of given for the most part. But again, here, like this one is a very offensive loadout. I would say like probably the traps are being used for kind of setting people on fire. The beetle maybe to kind of like exploit an opening quickly, like, or create an opening, and then you have like a lot of explosives there. But in the old system, you couldn't have brought 3 frag bombs and a beetle and a tarot card, right? Like, so in this case, kind of nudges it over to the consumable side, but at the expense of maybe not being as flexible on the tool side.
Also, something here in this loadout you can see is you can bring 3 frag bombs and a beetle. You can't bring another beetle, for example. That has to be something else, either a placeable or a tarot card.
Actually, like I just saw the butcher in chat asking like, "Oh, can you bring 8 frag bombs now?" But as you guys explained,
you can't. What you can do if you really want it, but again, that brings us back into this topic about over specialization versus flexibility. Is you could bring 4 frag bombs, and you could bring 4 dark dynamite satchels, because you have 4 throwables and 4 deployables.
Yep.
However,
now you have nothing.
So I'm not sure if you want to be happy without healing or melee, etc. So again, by default, we kind of see people kind of nudging this just a little bit and not overcommitting on so much. But obviously, some people will experiment with that one. So tell us what you think, how effective it is. Maybe there's going to be that one winning strategy going all in on a specific thing that actually works well. So far, we haven't found it.
Yeah.
And actually, now that we looked at the examples, we also have a little video prepared so we can actually look at the whole system in action. So let's look at that.
You want to talk about it?
No, you go ahead. I told you, Dance Shorts podcast. It's you.
So you can see like we have all the weapons being categorized properly, so you can just go through. If you want to equip something that is not compatible, obviously it throws you like a warning with this one as before as well. So as you see on the top left there, like we have like a size 4 weapon committed. So the only thing we can put in there is like a size 1 weapon, but since we have Quartermaster, it can be a size 2 weapon as well. Then we kind of populate like different tools and equipments here. And it just gives you just that flexibility to really say like what kind of fits those weapons best, and rather than being hard locked to 4 each, if you really feel maybe like more tools or more consumables are aiding that particular loadout, you can just do that, or pair them up with like some traits as well, of course. So in general, lots of flexibility on this one. You also have this extend into like the loadout system, obviously, so that if you have loadouts there, you might want to update them after we go live.
Also, a small change: the tools and consumables now are just one kind of section in the loadout. Previously, we had them as two, so now there'll just be one section that you can.
Everything is grouped together nice, and then we have to filter to support that one.
Yeah.
So
I just want to say, as Crytek, so as also say chat for all kinds of opinions, good or bad. Of course, please try it out, and we appreciate all feedback after that. And of course, it's a big new change. So
this is something that is super important. It's like, so we haven't done something that big in a long time when it comes to like refactoring pieces. So we have changed the hunter recruitment and other pieces. Like we've gone back to systems, optimized them, and made changes where we think this was important. But we've never really touched that deep into the core gameplay with the inventory system. So for us, this has obviously also been like a very terrifying piece of work initially, right, to kind of get our bearings in the system. But I think that it kind of has shown improvement itself in our playtesting, but since there's so many variables, there's so many different weapons, of course, there will be some things we just get wrong initially, right? So we have to observe, we have to look, we have to get your feedback on this one, and then obviously we'll also adjust the whole thing based on that.
But let's talk about the balance side of things, since that is very tied to this one, and there's a bunch of changes there as well.
Yeah, like, so the whole thing is flanked now, not only like we don't have just like the inventory slot rework, but since it touches the core of the game, it also means that there's going to be additional work needed across all different areas of the game, be that trades or weapons, etc., to kind of make sure everything kind of integrates nicely into this new rule set. So there's additional weapon balance pieces we're going to talk about in a second.
Some like consumable balance, tool balance that we'll get to.
So
resupply rules as
let's start with the equipment balance.
Yeah, let's go through them step by step. So starting with the equipment balance. So this is one of the bigger changes initially, like, so it's important to kind of like place it right in the beginning. But like toolboxes now only replenish spent tool instances. Like, I mean, it kind of goes by the name in a way.
You would think they would have done before.
Now, that means that you will have less opportunities to stock up on, for example, random consumables, like dynamite you might find, etc. Because obviously, as you come across those toolboxes, they will only ever help you replenish your medkit charge or your flare pistol or whatever you have in the tool category. Because tools obviously still exist as a concept, right? It's just that like the way they replenish is now being separated.
Yeah, I mean, here it's kind of on part to counteract the fact that now you can bring more consumables into the game, but it also still leaves the other ways to get consumables in the game, notably saddlebags, looting hunters, and something we didn't cover that's also in the stronghold. There is a knapsack that you can loot on a dead grunt. That works essentially like a saddlebag, so that will also give you your consumables back.
So like a quasi soldier horse, like soldier without a saddle. But that's really, really cool because it gives us just more means to kind of find stuff in the world. But it means also that you kind of need to be a bit more committing in the beginning. Like, so if you want to go all in on, let's say, tarot card and shots, it might take longer until you find replacements early in the mission, right? So that's just something that will be a new experience that people will kind of like have to kind of get a feeling for. In general, though, we also increased like the amount of just like consumables you can find in general, not only by the new mechanics, but also like the ones you find scattered around towers, arsenals, etc. So there is enough stuff to find, but there's a different dynamic now compared to what you initially equip, and then when you think you can actually maybe replenish some of those pieces during play. Interesting because it kind of has a big effect on the economy of the inventory system and probably will drive some of the decisions on how you equip yourself. We've also done some balancing on the trades.
Yeah, I can. Some of the next point we can go is like the ammo is reduced on the flare pistol. Now the extra ammo is from 2 to 1. Obviously, I think we saw the flare pistol kind of dominated most people's loadouts. And this is also now to make space for people to use the fusees again. Yeah. Right? So it's again the whole aspect of kind of finding your niche with the system and then picking the right tools that you need.
Yeah, like using the system change or system refresh in a way to kind of do some of the housekeeping that we've kind of been sitting on for some time. We thought like was a good opportunity to say like, you know what, let's have a hard look at some of those options. So even if it's more likely maybe that you bring some of those options, we still might need to shift the balance within, let's say, the tools or within the consumables a little bit more in order to make more equal, valid choices come to the front, like in the flare pistol versus fusees is a very good example here. In a similar way, we've also done the change to the traps. So by default, I mean, we already had like the concertina traps, the poison traps. There were 2 instances, so there's no change there. But the alert turbines, as well as the bear traps that were like, they've all been normalized to 2. And the main reason here is that through the inventory slot system, you can actually bring all of them if you want, right? So we kind of need to keep in check a little bit how many extremes people can kind of like push the system to. You also have frontiersmen still, which kind of adds another 3rd one, and on top of that, so you can still kill plenty. But it becomes more of a question now, like, if I double down on traps, if this is like my this hunter's loadout and I really want to like place traps everywhere, you can, but you might need to diversify by having different types of traps, because each of them will not have as much in quantity anymore, and therefore they will take more slots, which then again limits your flexibility, and maybe you don't bring enough other pieces instead. So again, we hope this is somewhat self-balancing, but we kind of still need to nudge some of those extreme options that could appear down by just enforcing some more limits here and there. And then we also have general change that goes alongside with the traps, like the tool bear traps. They're a little bit more damaging. So just imagine they're a little bit more sharpened compared to the rusty ones in the world. So they do just a little bit more damage as well, which doesn't look like much initially, but like things like bleeding, etc., the pressure, it still has a profound difference.
If you're missing a
practice.
bar, this becomes very critical. Yeah.
So it still gives you just like one more reason to say, like, oh, actually, I want to bring those traps. Even if I have only 2 of them, I might want to bring them because they might have that nice effect if I stack them together there and someone jumps in there, like compared to some of the other ones. So alongside that, the Derringer penny shot.
Yeah, I think it's a quite significant change. They will be less effective against bigger monsters, notably the bear and meatheads, and they won't break doors with 1 shot anymore.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, with our usage, we could see like the Derringer penny shot kind of became like the Swiss knife of tools, right? It kind of did almost everything.
Yeah, the jack of all trades.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it needed this nerf to kind of balance it against the other tools. And now, now if you want to be the playstyle of, I want a tool that can break doors and I can then siege compounds with my shotgun, you want to bring decoy fuses, which explode doors, right?
Yeah.
So,
and so like I think decoy fuses, for those of you who have been sleeping on them, they're basically just like mini charges. So they're still explosive, but it's like just a fraction of dynamite stick, very, very low yield. But just enough kind of to break doors, etc. And you can use them to kind of fake attacks. So the good thing is we also increased the number of instances you get from those. So like in the past you only had 3, now you can get up to 5. So you can even use them a little more frequently, and that might also help people kind of do effective pushes. But as Ron was saying, like the whole thing around the Derringer now means like you can still do all these things you could do before. You can still kill bears with it and meatheads, etc. It might just cost you a reload in between, right? It might not be just as straightforward. You can still kind of combine this with like your throwing spear,
maybe
and
one more throwing spear, one more throwing axe.
So it just taxes slightly, and we hope that because of that, maybe some of the other options are being considered here and there by some players.
And that's the equipment side of balancing. But as you mentioned, we had to do an overall balancing pass on many aspects. So we also did that for some traits.
Yeah. So on the trade side, it's mostly about just costs, and this is like the new system, right? Like, you want to talk about?
I mean, for Quartermaster, it's kind of. I mean, we've been talking about like, certain loadouts need Quartermaster now, etc. But we've also made it harder to get Quartermaster, right? Yeah. Now it costs 8 points, and like you really need to double down if you really want this loadout in your first go, and it's become more of a trait that you want once you've extracted successfully, etc. So hopefully that also pushes people to use more things and not just equip Quartermaster and then get the previous loadout that they wanted, right?
Yeah. So like in case you use Quartermaster and you choose to have like two kind of like equally powered weapons, similarly powered weapons, at least you cannot kind of boost both of those weapons.
You can't get Iron Eye, for example, or both the steady aim and...
or ensure you have like the 100 hands on the bow directly.
Exactly.
So while you might get more weapon choices, you also have some limitations, maybe that you still need to play a little bit more to kind of get them to peak performance with their respective traits. You can still get some, of course, right? You can still have Poltergeist in there if you want to mess around with stuff. You can still have Scopesmith, for example, if you want to have, like, let's say, a backup sniper or sniper, and you can kind of pair this up. So there's still enough opportunities, even with a cost of 8, to kind of pair some traits against it, but not as many anymore. Like, you can't just bring Necromancer out of the box, right? If you want that, which obviously has an effect, for example, of the initial loader for solos, which is also, I think, like an interesting variable to consider here. The second change we've been doing is Frontiersman, and this is primarily also, again, this whole business about the traps, etc. It just goes up by 1 point, but we still thought it would be more meaningful to have it like that, because it just feels a bit more representing the actual power level it gets, because you can technically have all traits, which means if you use 1 charge of every trait you have, every tool you have, I mean, you basically have 1 more now. Exactly. So it kind of scales with the amount of tools that you equip. So just a small increase here was warranted from our side.
Yeah, and then the last one is just 100 Hands also goes up in price. Again, for one of the reasons you mentioned, where we don't want it easy to be paired with Quartermaster. Yep. The bow is quite a powerful weapon already, so we want to tax that a bit further. Yeah,
most of the weapon trait upgrades that we have, like, they cost around like 3-ish or so points. The exception is, for example, the Scopesmith and Steady Aim. But again, like, to get to the peak performance, you actually have to spend like 4 points then, right? Like, so you can get the first entry point, but like if you want to maximize. So we felt the bow with 100 Hands feels a bit more appropriate around those, like size 3 in this case. And yeah, this is just a minor tinkering, but as you can see, all of that is flanking the wider system improvements we're doing. So it just helps you to kind of understand, okay, maybe how would that like inform my initial hunter recruitment? How can I spend my initial 10 points? And what maybe is still important for me to prioritize, or where do you say, like, actually, yeah, I'm going to push it into the second upgrade round, or try to see if you can get some upgrade points separately.
So you already talked about taxing stronger weapons. So the next point is really important about balancing the ammo side of things. And it's also kind of bigger change.
Yeah. You want to talk about this?
No, this is...
I'll do it. Right, so one of the bigger changes that flanks the entire system change is also that we looked at specifically the long ammo weapons, and one of the dynamics that we've been also dragging around for a long time is just that how, for example, like the smaller handgun versions, etc., of long ammo can kind of feed into the ammo pools. We had this initially with the Aftermath and other pieces. And one of the changes we discussed and kind of like rallied around was we should split long ammo. We should split it into like the more traditional black powder, slow muzzle velocity, but heavy hitting cartridge base version, which is basically long ammo as you know it. And then we have separated out from that one the more modern cartridges, like a more faster, better burning propellants. Usually that translates in with these weapons into like lower damage, because like it's just like more piercing through. It's not like causing that much like trauma. But obviously they're more modern, they're more precious, they're just maybe even almost experimental at that time. They're just being introduced, like Spitzer rounds, for example, a thing that was just like really, really new around the turn of the century. So that level of kind of like rarity that you have around these weapons, I think we thought is best represented by calling it now the special long ammo category. So we have split them. So yeah, all of the modern bolt action rifles, the military grade rifles specifically, are using that new type, and that means they need special ammo boxes to resupply, not regular ammo boxes. While the more traditional, more vintage rifles and weapons, like even the uppercut, etc., they kind of use like that older classic black powder version, and they can resupply from regular boxes. Now, the interesting part is that they are not interchangeable, which means you can't use one type to kind of like top up the other one.
So like, yeah, Boethier uppercut is not going to give you the reserve ammo that it did before. Yeah, I think it's interesting. It kind of, again, as you mentioned, it goes with the whole package of this rework, right? So,
yeah. And I actually already seen a question from Poor Purse asking if the ammo changes to the Mosin also apply to the variants of the Mosin.
Yes. Yeah. From a basic Mosin over Aftermath to Obres and Match, Sharpeye, all of those, they're all impacted by it. They all use the same cartridge, and it's the same thing. Like, for example, why both the Berthier and the Lebel are both using it, because in real life they actually also share the same Lebel round. I think 8.5 or whatever millimeters.
If anyone would know, Dennis.
So like we just try to have at least a certain consistency there. Like ammo supply has always been a bit of an abstraction in our game.
Yeah.
Or like kind of hard categorizing weapons rather than like, oh, this is not exactly that caliber, therefore it doesn't fit. We've always had a bit more lenience going on there, but we felt in this case like having one more separations step helps us from a balancing side. And make sure that, like, yeah, Mosin Nagant is still powerful. There's no changes to the gun itself, the ballistics, the power, the damage, but it resupplies differently now, and that alone just changes the entire economy around it.
And with that also came some changes how ammo boxes will and how they resupply.
Yeah. So the main reason for that one is to kind of support the special long ammo change, because specifically like weapons like the Mosin family, like they had the stripper clip reload with the 5 rounds. The box just gave you 5 rounds, which means you just took the box, had your aftermath or whatever in there, and then instantly pressing reload, whoop, in goes those 5 rounds, which means you kind of top up very quickly. You're right back in the fight in no time. And just felt like, is there anything we can do? And this was actually one of those reasons we thought, like, yeah, let's change the rule set. So what they do right now is they have a 2.5 ratio of a regular ammo box. So where like a normal ammo box gives you like 2 rounds, be that special or regular ammunition, like that one always gave you 5 rounds. And we're changing that to a ratio, or so that's like going to be like 20% less basically. And that means you only get 4 rounds of long ammo as an example. And that's not enough for the stripper clip. So unless you had some excess ammunition, like then you might still obviously have like enough.
Yeah.
But like by default, let's say I'm emptying my aftermath, I might be able to get 1 or 2 stripper clips in from the total amount I got from my like maybe 4 ammo boxes I bought. But I still have to kind of top up at the end, and maybe that costs a bit of time, and it's just a bit of a taxing factor here.
And we do have some other ammo-related balance change as well, like to the Dolch.
Yeah. So the Dolch is a consistency change. So we're introducing obviously the like a special long ammo.
Yeah.
So the Dolch ammo was just called Dolch ammo. So we're kind of like saying, yeah, it makes sense. Let's just call it special medium ammo.
It has the same rule set,
Yeah,
right? Like it's not medium, and it needs to be resupplied at special boxes. So.
And this consideration that we applied to the long, the special long ammo, we kind of had exactly that thought experiment. Like, was it like 7 years ago, 6 years ago, with the Dolch and the balancing around that one, where the argument was like, it's like kind of like a very new weapon, very prototypey, very exotic at that time. The ammunition is also very modern in terms of like high velocity, etc. Like it reeks of like everything's kind of like precious about it. And therefore, we always say, like, you know, that's perfectly fine that this text extra, it's just harder to get more ammunition for it. And the same rule set now we've applied to the special long ammo. So, but
I
for
remember
consistency, they're the
it used to
same.
a medium in the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. At the very, very beginning, it was, I think,
Was wild.
literally like the first balancing between the Dolch, and then we introduced the packs. I think like a year and a half or so. Like I think that was one of those early access weapons we released in the beginning of 2019, if I recall correctly.
Long ago, yeah.
The PAX was basically a carbon copy in terms of damage and performance from the Dolch, but the Dolch projectile was just a little bit faster.
Yeah.
But it was pretty much the same. Both were medium at the time. And that led to some of the balancing problems we've then since then encountered and tried to solve.
We also have some other weapon balancing changes, which are mostly to the ammo pool adjustments. Let's talk about those a bit.
If we could just go back for a second to talk about the scarcity.
Yes. I think we skipped across one thing there. Oh, yeah, that's actually
It's a big topic. So.
Benza,
Absolutely.
can't skip through that one. All right, so we do have another big thing, and that's probably one of the more controversial flanking changes. Also, like looking at you guys' feedback so far, is that we so far, let's maybe take one step back. Like so far, we've identified certain ammo types that we felt were very powerful, and decided to make them scarce. And our routine we kind of came up back then was like, you know, we're gonna rotate them through a little bit. So once in a while we change them, etc. But ultimately, because we couldn't really find good solutions sometimes to fix some of them, we also didn't really want them to return, like Dum on the Centennial, for example, by default, or like on the Dolch. So we kind of were stuck in this loop. So despite us telling people like, yeah, we're going to rotate through and there's going to be some cool dynamics there, that never really manifested. looking at the wider system change now that we do want the inventory, we thought, okay, let's maybe have a clear look. How do we want the role of these ammo types to be in the future? And for that reason, we said, you know what, Dum Dum, Explosive, and Spitzer are the ones which are amongst like the most controversial. And obviously, that's a very subjective thing.
Yeah.
Some people also really hate Incendiary or other. Like, there's probably an argument to be made for many of those, but in general, I think Dum Dum is on top of the list, and then Spitzer maybe second, and Explosive, depending on the weapon and stuff. Like some of them can feel a bit obnoxious at times, just like especially on spam weapons if equipped. So we decided that those three categories are now actually being treated as a scars per category rule.
Yep.
And this is no longer about rotating through. This is just like, these are now scars. And we thought it was important to just have this as a starting piece now, to kind of like have this conversation to see how that changes the dynamics, especially like with the inventory slot sizes and sidearms, and all of a sudden, like maybe certain sidearms that might have really relied on a specific ammo type, like Dum Dum, they maybe become a little bit less attractive to pick. And we hope that like this, as a general shake-up, we will see like what weapons are actually sticking, what people want to go for. And then obviously there will be future balancing around those weapons, so that if we really see this weapon here, like for example a Springfield, really relied on this one ammo type, like to make it really feasible. It was the only way it existed. Then of course we now have to go in and have a look. It's like, can we already predict like how they will be used? And we see your usage from the first couple of weeks, and we can derive like balancing for the next updates based on around that. So this is start of the conversation, but we want to have a bit of a stick in the ground, saying like, you know, these are all scars now. That changes the dynamics, and it gives us more of a pristine weapon behavior by default, especially for those that felt like really, just like dominating certain weapon choices. And then we kind of take it there step by step and rewind.
Kind of what it also does for us is give players a nice chase goal within a game to find the scarce ammo they want, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they come across a cargo crate
Yeah,
with the scarce ammo they want. So
That might be uplifting. Yeah.
they might be able to lift them out.
Yeah. I mean, like without throwing too many puns in here, because that would be a bit like inflating. I think that like there's also just in general a higher seed of these, which means players will also just have a bit more easier access to some of those. But there's obviously like this element of randomness part of it, and that becomes a chase goal. Like, take it from the guy on the ground. Like, oh, look, that guy has Springfield, and he has Dum Dum. Actually, maybe you want to bring that weapon out now. And we think it's interesting, but obviously it's a conversation, and we need to see how you guys respond to it. So if everybody hates it, of course we do some changes to it. But we actually feel pretty good about just like the clean slate it creates. And speaking of clean slate. That's also a mechanism that we want. This is why this is a bit of different what we had in the past, right? In the past, we kind of always had to keep these type of changes away from you, because like, oh shit, now they mention it. Everybody is kind of stockpiling them now. Like,
I already saw the post of like the guy with 300 Dum Dum ammo.
I still remember, like, I think at one point we did a balancing change to the Saber, and it would actually, so that if you sell them, you would sell them with a profit. And we had people having like hundreds of Sabers or so in there. And then we even had to go into the database and kind of like clean out some of those pieces. We want to avoid that. So we want to be open and transparent about these changes. And now we have the ability to actually say, you know what, we can clean this properly. We can say, by doing these changes, we, for example, sell some of those instances for you, so that everybody starts with the same amount maximum. So if you had some of them, now we will sell them, so that everybody kind of has the same scarcity experience, rather than some players like, I'm so clever, I bought 50 instances, and basically that balancing change doesn't affect them for the next like foreseeable future. So obviously that helps us with the housekeeping and balancing, and we can also be more open with communicating about these changes moving forward.
Absolutely. As Rohan mentioned, I also saw the Reddit post about the 600, and that's the only reason I tried to skip ahead so he doesn't get disappointed. So, but it's true. But I think now we can actually get into the costume, the actual ammo changes. For the weapon.
So let's pivot over to the weapons then. So we talked about this a little bit as we explained the new system. Because weapons might be shifting into different categories now. So like, let's say a rifle now is like a size 3 weapon. We can challenge some of the balancing parameters these weapons had to go by in the past. For example, a Frontier, to justify it, really had a lot of extra ammunition. because that way we could say like, we only have like that many rounds loaded into the weapon. We give you so much more extra, because otherwise, why would you ever not pick, let's say, the Ranger or something else? And now these weapons are competing against each other within their class, within size 3, within size 4, etc. So we're doing some corrections here and there about some of the extra capacity, because in some cases you can even get like 2 of those, right?
Yep, and then double your ammo reserves, right?
Yeah, so just to keep everything in check there, we're kind of a bit more conservative. I think in general it also helps a little bit with like some of the spam pieces that some of you are really upset about. Where you can just like spam too much, etc. Like, ammo becomes a bit more precious for some of those guns. So the smaller weapon you have, and the exception is the handguns, which still give you a ton of extra ammunition. So it's a reason maybe why a one size pistol is still valuable for you compared to, let's say, a size 2 or size 3 weapon, where ammunition is more scarce. Depending on their size level, you have a little bit maybe less ammunition, because we also rely now that you actually bring a stronger backup weapon to complement it. So I don't think we need to go through all of those now, but you can kind of see that design philosophy I just outlined kind of is in spirit for all of those changes, kind of like nudging them in and making sure they're sitting into the right categories.
So there's just some other examples to see as well.
In some cases, it also means we actually increase, right?
Yep.
So like the uppercut, for example, you might have seen it earlier in the system explanation. The uppercut is now a size 2 weapon. It's no longer a size 1, which limits like how you can combine it in certain loadouts, right? So if you want it to be together with, let's say, a Mosin Nagant or another size 4 weapon, you need Quartermaster to do that. Now, because it no longer then, because of this change, competes directly with, let's say, the True Shot, with the Scottfields, the Pax, of these other weapons, which very often in the past got dominated by that weapon choice. Like people swore on the uppercut being the go-to gun. We can actually now undo some of the balancing we had to do back then to make it balanced against the other one size weapons, because now it is no longer in the same class even. It competes against the other size 2 weapons. So we can give the uppercut some extra ammunition back, because it can stand on its own now, but it has other competitors now within its class. And that extends, for example, to the uppercut precision and Deadeye as well, which go to size 3. So obviously they do compare with some of the bigger rifles. So in this case, extra ammunition is actually a really strong argument for bringing those, because I mean, you now have 18 spare rounds long ammo for that one. That on its own, again, is a quality that might make you choose that one, let's say, over a specific other rifle.
Yeah, and similarly for the Nitro Express, right? It's a 5 slot, so you really are taxing yourself by bringing it in, so it needs a little bit of a bump there.
Yeah, just give you like one more reload basically in there. And we also did at the same time some corrective pieces there. For example, from our data side, like one of the very effective, not really meta, not really overused, but still, if people brought it, they brought it mostly with that purpose, is Dragon Bolts and on the hand crossbow. And we just wanted to say like, okay, well, you can still do that. You still have your thing. They're a bit weaker, maybe. We talk about, I think, some of the other balancing a little later down the line. But in terms of ammunition, for example, it just goes down by 1 extra round, because we also want you to kind of use and try out the other bolts a little bit more. And we felt like Dragon Bolts were kind of like the dominating choice within the hand crossbow, and we want to diversify this a little bit more.
Yeah, and then similarly, the Auto 4 kind of dominates its class of shorty, so kind of needed a little bit of a nerf there.
Yeah, even now going up to 3, we still thought it's warranted to kind of like have that, because a semi-automatic shotgun is still like one of the most powerful things you can have in this game.
Okay. And to kind of round off this topic of the inventory slots rework and the balancing around it, we have some other adjustments to some of the weapons.
Yeah, so because some of the weapons are also becoming very strong choices in the new categories, so like the Officer Carbine is an example of a size 3 weapon. We also did additional like balancing around those, just make it a bit harder to kind of do the spammy fighting with it. The Officer Carbine is very interesting because we seem to be touching this one every second update and doing something to the recoil. But it's interesting because it kind of like tries to find its new home every once in a while, right? And therefore, we have to touch it again, which I think is fair. And we mentioned the hand crossbow, so in this case, actually promoting the regular bolts a little bit more, but having a bit of a tax on the Dragon Ball, so you can't just burn bars so easily anymore. It still is a very powerful tool for you, like blocking stuff, and also even of using offensively. But maybe there's some alternatives you might want to consider, or at least not bring both stacks being the same ammo type, but some others as well.
And then we have the Mako muzzle velocity being reduced from 540 to 440, which is, I mean, making it more in line about those black powder kind of long ammo guns, and it being in its separate class now that it's not, I mean, it's not special ammo, long ammo, right?
Exactly. So like this one really has going for itself that you can just resupply from regular ammo, so you can still fire this. And we've recently buffed it, and these buffs are still there.
Yeah.
So the only thing we've done now is like kind of take a step back with the ammunition and muzzle velocity. So it's, I mean, black powder charges at the time, they could only ever really propel projectiles up to a certain speed, and we're almost at the top there. I think 500 something was the maximum you could really get out of some of those, but it feels more appropriate for the type of weapon, and also makes sure that there's a bit of a class difference now, and you kind of see the pros and cons between choosing this one versus others. And then the last one is that because the Berthier is also one of those suspected winners at the moment, from the system being a size 3 as being like a carbine type of version, is that we just increase the price a little bit. I mean, that's not the main reason for balancing it, but just adds like an additional cost, an additional burden on top of that one, so that all of the variants go up by 50. But the Berthier, for example, if you saw on the previous slide, also has bled quite a lot of extra ammunition pieces there, like going down by I think almost 50%. So it is now competing in the size 3 category, and as such, it doesn't have to have as much ammunition as it had in the past, because you don't choose between it and the Mosin anymore. You choose between it and, let's say, the Oberst Match or our new 1890 cavalry.
The what? A new one?
The 1890.
I thought we were done with the stream now. There's more?
There is more, but yeah, before closing this segment again, just to mention, as the update comes out, make sure to try it, play around with the system a bit, try out all the new possibilities, and leave us your feedback, because it will be very, very important. For
We've been browsing and continue browsing through a lot of the different comments, like in different videos. For example, some of the partner videos that have been released recently, with like different trends where people just like that part, but they might hate that part. But another person says, "But I really actually like that part that you hate." But I had and this is good. This is great. This is what we want. We want you guys to talk about this. We want you to kind of compare, and there's a lot of this is like preference as well, right? Like, so based on your playstyle, how what you prefer, what you hate, it kind of like obviously finds itself also into the wider balancing aspects here. So tell us what you think, keep on posting, but also like be open to it. Like, you can try it out very soon on the servers, and then tell us what you actually experience and practice, and take it from there.
And you started talking about already the new goodies, so we do have some more to talk about.
There's more.
There's more. There's always more at the end. So what about that big Maxim M1895?
Yeah. So basically, like we talked about the strongholds earlier, right? And these strongholds, they're defended. There's a monster lurking there, like, and it's not the caged boss.
He's Eden. So
it is actually that monster is the Maxim 1895. Now, what this is like, it's a new prototype machine gun, and you can find it exclusively in the strongholds. There's only ever going to be one in the one stronghold. There's no others on the map, and also, if you pick it up, it has lots of drawbacks and handicaps, and you can also not extract it. So it is not a weapon you can collect like the Shredder or the Flame Rifle. It's not a scarce weapon. This is just a world weapon that lives and spawns in there, and whoever comes there first can use it and utilize it, for example, in helping in the defense, or maybe even like that, drag it along to the next boss compound and use it
completely demolish a boss.
Just that one boss, and then probably it's empty. Now, so therefore, it's a really contained but very powerful weapon piece. What's interesting about this is, like, as you can see from even like the namesake, like, this is a weapon that was just like recently introduced. Well, kind of Maxim machine guns, I think they've been around since like the mid 80s or so of that one. So like the water cooled ones, etc., and have started to kind of appear in different militaries around that time. Actually, the US Army, they were just exclusively using Gatling guns at that time still, right? Like the hand crank, multi-barrel pieces, not the modern ones. And like during that time, there were army trials, so they were trying to take an interest into these like new European pieces of technology and what they're figuring out. Because obviously the U.S. Army, I mentioned in the beginning, was very small at that time. It was mostly frontier based, right? They weren't really in a big war since the Civil War, and as such, like, they had a small standing force. But they're still trying to modernize and had these army trials. So you can very well imagine that maybe Colonel Whitlaw or Commander Whitlaw was kind of like maybe just snatching a couple of those from those trials as he made his way over to the bayou and the mountains. So it's an interesting kind of experimental piece, but yeah, the way they've used it is not how you use it, because normally it would be like a tripod mounted stationary weapon, but that's been destroyed. So you basically pick up the pieces from it and then you start to carry it. So they kind of makeshift, like put a handling, like a handle, a carrying handle in front of it, and it's very awkward to use. But yeah, let's have a look at it in a second.
Yeah, first of all, here's the picture of it. So
yeah,
looks really cool. But we can play the video as well to see how it plays in the game.
It's the box of death.
It is definitely badass.
Absolutely badass.
So what you can see here is like the weapon kind of has an overheating mechanic as well. So you can just spam those shots, like it overheats very quickly. The main reason for that one is obviously from a gameplay balance perspective, but also this weapon fires only incendiary ammunition, and you can kind of see like it kind of heats up a lot faster than maybe it would in real life because of that. What it means is that because it is incendiary ammunition, you can't really wall pan with it, right? Like, so those who are being shot at by that thing actually do have a chance to survive because they can kind of find shelter between like some debris and fences, etc.
I think just experiencing the Maxim in the Stronghold is an awesome experience. Being in the trenches, getting fired at.
Yeah. Even with all the shots missing, although by
it's really good at drawing outlines. I think.
Like the tracers really help with this as well, because there's just like this stream of fire your way, and even though the chance of hitting someone at like 50-ish or more meters, right, is very slim, you will get the occasional headshot, and if that happens,
there'll be a guy on Reddit like 80-meter Maxim headshot.
Everybody starts laughing manically when it happens. And it actually is a pretty fun moment. Even honestly, I've also been on the receiving end of it. It is quite fun because it's so. Can you call it like it's kind of so unexpected at that moment. Obviously, in short range encounters, this thing is massive, right? Like, so if you encounter this one in, let's say, one of the trenches outside, there's a very slim chance to survive. However, you also walk very slowly when you carry that weapon. We talked about the overheat mechanic, and if you overdo this, the weapon can even like malfunction and jam, and then you kind of need to clear the jam pressing the reload button or the X button. So this weapon is also not easy to use. You have to be very careful and be very considerate around how to use it. So in some ways, some people consider it like, oh, it's more of a meme thing, it's more fun. It does have its purpose, it does have its role, but you have to also kind of understand its limitations to make the most use of it.
Yeah, I think like you have to play really smart with it, because in the end, as we mentioned, a shotgun will demolish you in short range as well. So you need to make sure you have the upper hand, but it allows for you to get 1 or 2 kills where you would have gotten only the singular.
Yeah, and like this thing melts bosses as well, right? Like, so if you manage to drag this on, let's say to the next compound somewhere, and there's a boss, except for the butcher, because he's
fire resistant.
He's kind of fire resistant, so just don't. But all the other ones, like this thing, exception Hellborn of course as well, but like from the regular bosses, this thing can melt through quite quickly. So it's also a way for you to shortcut that boss a little bit, but maybe it's not worth it if you actually had to take like a minute longer to even get there, because you're kind of slogging with like, I think it's like 25-ish%.
It's 25%.
Like reduction in your movement speed. So you're also much more of a target when you traverse.
So then, of course, you cannot extract with it either from the mission.
Yeah, exactly. That's a super important piece. It's not a weapon you can hoard. It's an opportunity that you can find. It's the monster defending the strongholds, and can be wielded by whoever arrives there first.
Absolutely, but it's not the only new weapon in the update, and we kind of mentioned this already a few times. So it's the 1890 Cavalry.
Yeah, so the 1890 Cavalry is a very interesting piece because it doesn't really look special on first glance, right? It's like, oh, single shot rifle, but there's quite a few of them already out there. So what's its purpose? I mean, there's one thing in there disconnected from the gameplay. Like, this is the actual military army service rifle of the US Army of that time. It was slowly being replaced by the Crack. And actually its predecessor is the Springfield 66 from like 25 years ago. So this is one of the weapons you would expect an army force rolling into this area to bring the most. So we wanted to have a weapon that was kind of feeling like there's a thematic fit in there. And we chose the cavalry version, which is like the more stubby, shortened version of it, rather than a full sized rifle, because it's a nice trade-off as well, like between like this more compact nature and the power it brings. So this is a single shot rifle, which actually is size 3, which means you can have so much more options to kind of combine it in the new inventory slot system compared to, let's say, a Sparks or a Martini Henry, which are size 4.
Exactly. Kind of stands out in that and has a really awesome sight that we'll probably see as well.
Exactly. It's like the original was introduced in the US Army in 1873, if I'm not mistaken. And then there were like certain modifications, improvements to it. And the model that we're featuring here is the one with the modifications from 1890. And the biggest advantage here is just like that the front side is completely changed. So, and I think this actually really adds a lot to the weapon also from a gameplay perspective, because it's very, very nice and feels really good to aim with this gun. Like, for me personally, this has turned out to be quite a headshot machine, both on the receiving end, but also sometimes being lucky having my own headshots here. But it is a very reliable gun, and then this will have like high velocity ammo, FMG ammo, so you can kind of specialize with this short mid-range wall pen, or even kind of like use it over longer distances very reliably. So for me, this has shown to be a very awesome addition to the new inventory system. And yeah, there's this great thematic fit that kind of feels at home around the trenches and all the military theming that's going on.
And of course, we have a video prepared for this one as well. So let's take a look at the cavalry.
As you can see here, like classic approach, single shot trapdoor rifle, or rather carbine. And very quick to reload. Obviously, you can use fast fingers with this one as well. Very nice as your main weapon with a strong backup, or even as being like an equal amongst two size 3 weapon choices, where this could be then your precision one, and maybe you have an officer carbine or something like that, like for close range, or a Lamat carbine with a shotgun added to it. So really good options for you to kind of like pair this up with.
Yeah, you can see fast fingers in action here.
Yeah. And this weapon just like it's so quick for long rifle ammo, like to kind of like have the repetition that fast for single shot. It feels really good. So luckily you guys can try it out very soon as well. Tell us what you think about it. We think it's a nice puzzle piece for the new inventory system that allows to build some really interesting new loadout options.
Yep.
And someone in chat actually asked when it becomes when do you unlock this new weapon? And actually, it's in the battle pass. I think on the 15th level.
Yeah, exactly. So you get it early on in the battle pass, and then from there on, I think you can play it the way you want.
Absolutely. And with that, we actually came to the content part of the stream. And if you want to take a look at it early, we do have a partner preview event on June 5th.
That's this Friday.
That's this Friday. Today is 3rd, so in 2 days, exactly. And that will go on, as you can see on the screen, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. CST.
That would be really interesting. Like some of us developers will also be able to kind of play alongside and see if we can hold our ground against some of our partners.
It's going to be fun getting shot by our very skilled partners. We will have a good time, I think.
But definitely join that, and of course, check out our partner.
So.
We will be dying, they will be killing us, but it will be still fun to take an early look at the event from the perspective of our partners.
And this was all like psychological warfare, because actually we are pretty good.
Exactly. And with that being said, we are going to the Q&A segment of this stream as well. So luckily we already have a lot of questions collected from our moderators and community managers as well. So I'll just be laying it on you guys, okay, if that's fine. First of all, we had two connected questions from Twitter and Twitch as well, from Julian, Joy, Roy, and Yeti Fever. One of them asked this, is the current event already over? And the other asked, when does the new one start? So I think we can tie those together.
Yeah, I mean, we still have the current event running.
Yeah, the current event will run till the 9th of June, which is the date that the new event begins. So
so basically you have like a bit less than 1 week. So
like a 4 to 5 days to finish up your challenges and get ready for the new event.
Get that final charm.
Someone asked, why does the Maxim shoot incendiary bullets?
So primarily because we wanted to overheat. fast, because that's important from balancing, but also it looks pretty terrifying. Like,
And also so that it doesn't have any penetration.
yeah,
Right.
like, so you can't just like wait in front of the door, the bunker entrance, etc., and just hose through. But you have to have line of sight properly. But yeah, it's a mix of spectacle and balance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One question from Psycho Ghost on YouTube, actually. We know that guy. So, can we finally shoot the cannons from the fort?
No, we cannot.
Unfortunately not.
So for context, at least
Yeah, we could.
the initial cannons we had back then, I mean, they've been sitting there for like, was it 35 years since the Civil War ended? So they've been defunct, and whatever happened to the military, that like weapons that they brought in now here, apparently all the powder got wet, I guess. But yeah, now we have one cool new thing here, and that is the Maxim, but no cannon. Sorry. You can pretend though, right?
Yeah, you can, like, you can make the sound effect like boom, boom.
Yeah. Just like for Psycho Ghost, I mean, just like sit there with your
The
Chukunu with your explosive crossbow, if you still have a couple of those around, and you can pretend to fire the cans. I mean, that's as best we can do right now. Sorry.
So the cozy Ghosty asked regarding weapon balance on Twitter, like, what is the point of custom ammo that now we made some of scarce? So how does that actually fit into the game now?
It's a good question, and I think like this question is probably like coming from like, I really like to play like that, and I can't anymore, and that's perfectly
exactly.
fine and understandable. The important piece for us is that we want to ensure that the weapons are not just only defined by the custom ammo. First off, they should be defined by them being just standard weapons. The custom ammo should be a layer on top that adds like diversity, gives you options, etc. Like, oh, I use this for pressure, like I use the flash head for the shotgun. I can capitalize on them bleeding and push in. Like, we want that to be a complementary piece. In some cases, some of this ammunition has become so present that like the weapons almost kind of like lost their identity on their own, and you could only ever really justify using them if you also had the ammunition. This is something we want to break out from a little bit. So now with this system change, we're first establishing more the ground, the baseline. That means some of these more powerful ammunition types are now kind of like put more to the sideline. They will be harder to get. You need to kind of like find them in the world, but they also become more precious that way. They become more interesting for you to kind of like look at these hunters on the ground. If they had anything interesting that you might want to take out of the mission, or you might go actively go seek out some of those like custom ammo swap boxes to get the types. So in general, it's a shift and it's the start of the journey. There will be more changes to that, and lots of that will be coming from you guys' feedback. At the moment, we try to kind of paint with broad strokes a little bit. That's why we want to have entire categories that we felt are problematic being made scarce, so that we see the actual weapon come to the fore underneath that, and then we balance from there.
It's also a little bit of consistency and helps new players also understand, okay, this weapon is scarce for all, and they don't come in and say, okay, why can I equip Dum on the packs versus not on the main art sniper or stuff like that.
There was one sub point I think we kind of skimmed over quickly earlier when we talked about the special long ammo and the special medium ammo, is that, for example, on the Dolch, we actually also made a decision to remove the FMJ ammo completely. And that is, again, for the same like consistency and ease of readability, also for new players, to say like, because it's an entire category that is scarce, we don't have individual pieces like this weapon, but this is scarce, but this isn't. Like, it was very, very convoluted. It was very, very, very noisy. But because the Dolch FMJ stood out, and we don't really want to bring it back into the normal pool, because it's just almost like a real just a regular upgrade, because the base ammunition is already using the custom ammo boxes, or the special ammo boxes, sorry. It didn't really feel like it was having similar drawbacks like FMJ had for other weapons. So therefore the decision was made, just for simplicity and ease of readability, to just take it out and have a consistent language.
So some more questions. I've seen Carnageron asking it many times during the stream, but when will the weapon contest skins will be added to the game?
I don't know the exact roadmap, but I think
what we said that we don't have an exact number. We are working on it. It takes some time, of course, to talk to the creator and just, of course, work on the skin as well. But it will come in some major updates. So it takes some time to produce skins. But it will be coming, and of course we will be announcing it, and you will know about it. So we did not forget. It was just like 100 times. So
what? There was a contest? What?
Oh, what? Yeah.
Did I turn off the oven, Ben? I forgot something.
God damn it. Rashi asked is there a plan to make traits increase weapon size in the system anytime in the future? For example, levering adding +1 to the weapon slot size for future balancing reasons.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So never say never, right? We have to see how the system matures now, and maybe there's some opportunities. But at least top of our head at the moment, we wouldn't have any plans like that. We already have Quartermaster as a trait that adds +1 capacity, right? Like the question that was like maybe coming up along this one is like, so what about Gunrunner? I mean, for example, at the moment we don't have any plans to bring back Gunrunner. If it ever were to come back in the future, it probably would just do the same thing as Quartermaster is doing and give you a +1. But again, we don't have any plans on that one right now. So right now the hard limit is 6 that you can get from your 5 capacity plus Quartermaster +1.
A fun question to you guys actually is like Purpose asking, so now that we have a new inventory system, does it make it so we will see more new weapons in the future because of that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe one of the reasons we did it.
Yeah. I mean, so we're starting a little bit like small now because there's actually a pragmatic reason also for this one. This kind of ties into why we picked the Cavalry 1890. With this bigger change, right, the arsenal needs to kind of first settle now.
Yep.
Like there's lots of moving pieces. The weapons will feel differently. You need to kind of relearn like how to build loadouts in a certain way. There's new cool opportunities, but also maybe certain like pieces that you want to use are no longer possible. Going through this, understanding this, and then making your either your peace with it or giving feedback that you really hate it or whatever you want to do with this, it needs some time to settle, to get some practical like play time with this. And we didn't want to make that even more complicated, but just adding more and more weapons on top of that. That's why the 1890 Cavalry is more of a basic, more easier to predict weapon. It actually fills a very specific niche. But moving forward, there will be more weapons, and we can also make then better decisions. What weapons are maybe needed for this new arsenal? What niches are there? What gaps do we have in there?
Then we have Pique asking, what happens to those weapons that are currently stored on hunters and they may not fit in the inventory system anymore?
So I mentioned this when we talked about the custom ammunition and kind of like selling some of these pieces for you. For the weapons, it's a bit different. So what we're doing here is we are basically looking, okay, is this particular loadout no longer compatible? Is it illegal in the new system? In this case, we force unequip it. And what we do is like we do not delete or sell anything. They will just be basically put into the arsenal. Even contraband, like so, you don't lose any contraband weapons in this regard. It just allows you to kind of like then pick them up from there. Maybe equip them differently on the same hunter. Maybe if you fix that problem, now adding Quartermaster in if that is now a requirement for this loadout, or do whatever you want with it. So nothing is lost there. Because I understand this is a very tricky piece, of course, as you might be just like hoarding a lot of maybe contraband weapons on some of those hunters, and if then obviously unequipping them, that would be a nightmare to lose all this. Maybe there's one of them is like a precious one with a skin that you just had as a trophy, and then we don't want you to lose any of that.
Absolutely. I can answer actually the next question. It was asked multiple times, but latest I see from Everetta asking if we have any plans for Twitch drops soon. Well, right now we haven't announced one yet, but you know, we always try to work on that, so please keep an eye everywhere. And
I think your eye is twitching there, Benson.
It always is, yeah.
I have to laugh. It's in my contract.
Talking about
he promised me some commissions.
Yeah.
Works for me, sorry.
Also, shout out to everyone that said hi to us at TwitchCon because we're talking about Twitch. But of course, Twitch drops are always a part of Hunt, and we of course will have some this year as well. So keep an eye out for that. I also seen a lot of questions asking about the Fair Play Task Force topics. I think they may have missed that part because we answered most of those. So please just check back on the vault or watch the video because it addresses all those questions already. So we don't have to go into them one by one, like the region lock with pings, etc. We already talked about those. So. And banning cheaters as well as the new systems. And as we mentioned, the Fair Play Task Force will become a reoccurring part of the streams as well. So we will be able to answer more of your questions in the Trigger.
Also pick up maybe some of the open questions in the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I read most of the questions because there's so many, like some we already talked about, so it's hard to choose. Someone asked about what about the rotation of scarce ammo? What happens?
Yeah, I talked briefly about this earlier. So there was the original plan we had when we said like, oh, it's going to be like, the Dum Dum ammo of this particular weapon, or the FMJ of that particular, or the explosives of this one. We thought about like, let's spice it up by just rotating it regularly. We never did. Very often for good reason we didn't. So now we are stopping that approach. There will be no rotation, but instead we're going on this per category basis and saying like, in general, we think these are very powerful ammunition types and we want them to be scarce. And which means now if you want, for example, Dum Dum ammunition or Spitz ammunition, you need to kind of chase that and hunt them in the mission. If you want to use them as like an upgrade to your gun to specialize further.
Let's take one more question because we answered a lot and we have been live for a long time. I think this is maybe one of our longest.
I really appreciate, by the way, that you picked up questions during the chat because this is actually live.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We wanted to make sure that you got, because we heard that feedback. Oh, it's pre-recorded. Like,
I mean,
that's a really good compliment.
with some insane pre-recording, right?
Some time travel. But yeah, like one important one was asking about the crashes on PS5 Pro, and I can say that there's a potential fix in this update.
Multiple even, yeah.
Multiple. And of course, just in general, performance and crashes are always super high.
But specifically, like the PS5 Pro we've identified was like one of the ones like that was suffering a lot more. So we have some really good tentative fixes that should be coming with this update. And so well, we'll keep a close eye on that one because that's super important to bring it on the same level of quality as the other ones.
Yeah, and please just leave us your feedback on PlayStation if it actually fixes your issues or not. That's very important. And I think, we answered so many questions, but of course, please leave more questions because as we now do it a bit more often, we will have more dev streams during the event as well. So we will try to pick up as many as we can and answer that to you as well. And also we have always surveys, etc., to also collect your feedback about all the topics.
That's great.
Yeah, what a great evening.
Lovely.
Thank you guys for being here. It was great. Also, all the other guests, thank you for taking the time. Please also let us know how you like having more guests to join and talk about their specific topics too. I think it's really cool.
It's super interesting. Like some of the trivias, like in detailed information, especially about Port Sulphur, etc. I just can't get enough of that.
Absolutely. And of course, we are super excited to have this update live next week. So please look forward to that. And but before that, the partner preview event again on Friday.
Yes, looking forward to that one.
And I think that's a perfect time to say good night to everyone.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Time for us to float away.
Yeah, see you on the road to hell.
See you everyone, and have a great evening. Bye.